Are there any laws you want to change at the moment? What about the representatives in our government? Do you feel like they could do better at deciding what's best for our country?
It's not surprising if you answered yes to either of these questions. The truth is, we need to vote to get our voices heard.
This especially includes the 18 to 29-year-olds who aren't voting, because if they continue to not vote, the way our government functions will be completely out of balance.
To begin, young voters can actually have a huge impact on the turnout of the elections.
For instance, in a text called Youth Power, it says, "In fact, the turnout of Iowa voters under 30 has tripled from 2004. Those voters were the deciding factor in Barack Obama's victory." Also, in a text called I Can't Wait to Vote, it states, "If young voters turn out in large numbers, they can become a powerful group of voters who cannot be ignored." Finally, in a text reread, Can't Be Bothered to Vote, it says, "Voting is how the leaders of our country are elected, and sometimes laws are passed directly through the ballot. What these pieces of evidence are explaining to us is that our voting is how leaders are elected, and if enough young people vote, they can have a huge impact on which leader will be chosen." Also, young people have and are going to experience things others won't, and that is another reason why they need to vote. Specifically in the text Youth Power, it says, "I think the attacks brought a deeper feeling for our country. People began to be more worried about what would happen to us." Then, in a text I Can't Wait to Vote, a student named Matt said, "I will vote for the candidates who think about the future, because that's where I'm going to be. I'm young, we're going to be around for a long time, and I don't want to live in some dirty, polluted country that used up all its resources from bad and greedy decisions." And finally, in the text Can't Be Bothered to Vote, it states, "Unemployment, global warming, and the national debt were all topics of debate and legislation in recent years. Many youth believe voting impacts the country. This shows that young people have experienced bad things somewhat recently, and it even shows that since they will be living in the future, they will experience all the things that we vote for, good and bad." Finally, if you want to know what you can do to contribute to the elections, here's some ideas. One idea is that you can write letters to politicians about voting. If you don't want to actually vote, there's no harm in writing to someone who is very involved in voting. Another idea is that you can actually register to vote, which would have a much bigger impact on who is elected and what laws are passed than you would think. A third idea is that you can educate yourself about how to vote. If in the future you think you might be interested in voting, learn as much about the process as you can right now. And the last thing you could do to impact the elections is to teach others about how to vote. In the previous idea, it said you could educate yourself. Well, if you do that, then make sure you share your knowledge with others and convince other people to try voting.
The voices of young people can be extremely potent if we just share them with other people in our community.